Zander, you looked like a seasoned vet while having your Ricky Bobby moment during the championship celebration when you signed that baby. Such care was taken in ensuring the baby's head was held safely, too. Had you done that before?
No, I've never signed a baby before, but I know there was only one caught on camera, but I did sign two. I signed two that day, and I said, absolutely, ma'am, I'll sign your baby.
I know you love NASCAR, so I imagine Talladega Nights is one of your favorite movies, right?
It's up there, but Elf is my actual favorite movie. But it's same actor, Will Ferrell, same actor, so it kind of comes full circle there.
All right. Well, Zander, you're a national champion. Everybody knows that at this point. 2024 Tennessee Volunteers, the champions of college baseball. How have the emotions, the fanfare, and the experiences of what happened in Omaha lived up to how you might have expected in the immediate aftermath of helping secure Tennessee's first championship in baseball?
Well, it didn't feel like anything. It felt normal, like nothing really happened, because when you win the national championship, yeah, you celebrate. But then like a day goes by and you're like, does it even seem real? And then you have a parade, then it kind of sets in like, holy moly, all these people are on one street here and they're getting really close. It felt like it was, at some points it was the seas parting, and at some points it was like closing. But I mean, it really doesn't set in until about, like yesterday and like today, when you reflect on a whole year of baseball, and then your national championships, and on top of basically college baseball. That's when it kind of sets in. But immediate, like when we won, it felt cool. We knew we won. And then the next day was like, all right, it's cool. The parade was cool. And then, but once like all that's over, you're like, dang, we actually accomplished something.
Yeah, you finished the job from what that 2022 team did a couple of years ago. That was the Gauntlet Tennessee team that everyone thought would be dogpiling in Omaha, and then you guys get it done here in 2024. I know for me, it was personally amazing to watch you break down what just happened when you were with the media on the field and did your best Mike Tomlin analysis and roped everything in, with you being a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So that was personally fun for me to watch. It's really interesting watching you on the mound, because there are really two different Zanders, right? Like on the mound, you are this fired up, emotional dude. Everybody saw that on full display in Omaha, especially when you struck out the side in the 5th inning of Monday's clinching win. But you have that certain intensity. Then you're also laid back, you're comical, even in the middle of an outing. How do you flip that switch on and off?
I mean, I don't really know how to explain it. I'm just myself. But obviously when the moment gets tense and the emotions run high, you gotta let it rip. I talked to a media member, one of our local people, and she asked me about it, and I was like, I just let it rip. I mean, the emotions run high in a game, especially a game 3 like that, and I just let it rip because I didn't know if I was coming out after that inning or not. So I kind of wanted my last impression just to be like, just fiery and highly emotional, and I didn't want to leave anything out there. And I obviously went back out there. I didn't finish the inning, which was fine, but I'm glad I put myself, or put the team first, kind of where I put the team like for a chance to win the national championship, which is pretty cool. And I can always live with it forever when you go back to the box score and it says the winning pitcher and it's my name. It's pretty cool.
I liken it to myself in a lot of ways. You don't take yourself too seriously, but when the moment dictates that you need to ratchet it up a bit, you certainly do, and you rise to the occasion. Do you think that might come from the way you were brought up? I know you're from Georgia, but you have a lot of family in Pennsylvania. It's been well documented. You grew up single mom, but you had grandpa around, who you've said before, heard you on with Kirby Connell, your throwing buddy, as part of the Stash Talk podcast in the past. Your grandfather was like a hero to you. And I wonder, and I might be just, throwing arrows. You've got an archery aspiration entity to you as well. So this might be very fitting. But do you think that formula of having family from the north and then coming up in Georgia in the south might have provided some sort of balance that you've displayed with life and with baseball?
Yeah. Usually people from the north, they have a different type of attitude than the southern people, because northern people are usually kind of like smug and rude, but they're really not. Like the way they deliver things are just completely different. And I went up to the Cape last summer and went into Massachusetts, and I saw it again. I'm like, a lot of people think these people are rude, but it's just the tone that they give off, but they're really not. But yeah, I guess you could say, my family being from Pennsylvania and being a Steeler fan, just watching growing up the Steelers and how they do things and how hard nosed and hard work that just city is just unreal. And my mom keeps it like a nice goofy side of the family, and then the grandfather who's like a little older tells me all of what's going on in the world and like news and all I need to know, all I need to catch up on when I'm getting older. And it's a good balance right there of like you say loose and serious. So I can't thank them enough for making them the man I am today. And I think somebody reached out from the Steelers, like a Steelers writer. They're sending me a shirt to my house, so it's kind of cool. Maybe I can get out there and go to Pittsburgh once again. The only Pittsburgh game that I went to Heinz Field was when Richard Seymour kind of gave Ben a little shove right to the face, and he was ejected. So.
Do you have your Justin Fields jersey yet or any sort of merchandise? Because when he was drafted by my Bears, being a Chicago guy, and look, I live in North Carolina now, so I know the balance of the North and the South. I even lived in Louisiana for a couple of years, so I'm a well-rounded, unfinished product, but still I understand all these different perspectives, so you and I can relate. But on draft night when we took Fields, I was ordering shirts, hoodies, sweaters. I can send some of those to you. Maybe you can just, play around in the mud or something. You might be able to utilize them.
I have not gotten my Fields or Russell Wilson jersey yet. I don't know if I will get them, but I do. It's kind of crazy that you mentioned jerseys. Is obviously I have a Pickett one, which is fine. I was a Pickett guy through and through. But I also have a Mason Rudolph jersey when he got drafted like almost 7 years ago. And I thought he was the future. And then people were like, nope, it's not it. And he led us to a playoff game. I know we had to go to Buffalo and all that, which is fine. And I believe the NFL has some sort of agenda. We weren't going to win that game regardless because the next round was going to be Allen versus Mahomes. So, I can go on and on about the NFL being an agenda. The Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl as soon as they got into the playoffs because of Taylor Swift. The ratings are up. Why would they not let them keep on going? You have a good Ravens team and, come on. There's a stat out there that says like there's 50 plus Patrick Mahomes interceptions called back for flags. And the second closest is 6. So, there's a big stat for you right there.
Whoa.
But I could talk about it for hours, and I know we're on a time crunch, which is okay. But but maybe I'll get it, but I just don't know what we're doing at the quarterback position with both of them being on 1-year deals. But I'm a defensive guy anyway, so you know how it is in Pittsburgh. We run everything through our defense, and we're just going to run the ball, and we just need a quarterback to keep us in the game.
Well, I love the saltiness. I can't disagree with anything you said about the NFL and an agenda and Pat Mahomes, and certainly the Chiefs' place, not just in NFL and sports, but in society and pop culture. So, and I'm wearing my Chicago Blackhawks hat, so I'm repping it. And I know you're a big NHL guy. You love the Pens. You love Sidney Crosby as well. If time allows, like you said, time crunch, maybe we'll circle back to the NHL because that's a big video game of yours and your PS5. Tell me about the synchronized strikeout strut, though, that we saw on full display in Omaha. I think I've heard you say in the past, summer ball is a great time to practice such a thing, but you've really got the spin down. You time it beautifully. It certainly is something to behold.
Yeah. It kind of came up sophomore year because I actually started and I was like, I'm going to take full advantage of what we got going here. And I just, obviously they go around the horn and I was like, I got to do something. Like it feels, if I just stand there, I feel like, a little awkward that I'm just standing there. So I was just like, you know what, let me just hop a few times and spin around and see what that does. And it's worked out. And obviously I wish I could do something better maybe, but honestly. It's a funny story. Deloy actually said he did that in high school after watching me do it. So it's kind of cool to see that it got out there a little bit. And I was like, there's no way. I was a midweek guy. There's no way you're watching the midweeks, you know? And yeah, he said he did it a couple times, and it feels good to hear someone like that, especially was able to do it.
You bring up Dylan Loy, and we've heard that he's kind of become like maybe little brother to you. Maybe we've heard him described as kind of like an understudy to Zander Sechrist. What has that relationship been like? How has it been kind of working with him as one of the freshmen on this team and getting him ingratiated in what it means to be a Tennessee Volunteer?
Yeah, earlier on, he started a few midweeks, which I was glad. I was glad to hand that off because it gets a little emotional when you're not, pitching on a Tuesday, which is weird. Trust me, it's weird. And I was talking to him throughout the year, and I said, every outing you go out there, man, you're just learning. And especially this last one, I know it didn't go like too well for him, but I said in the dugout, I was like, win or lose right here, you're learning. Like you're gonna have a great career here, but like your freshman year is all about learning. You're just gaining knowledge and getting more mature. And I know I was on a meeting earlier with the Tiger Scout, and we were talking, and I said I was talking to Deloy too. I was like, the scouting report's saying you versus lefty slider. So let's say, how about first pitch throw a heater in there? They're not going to swing at it. I know they're not because they're sitting slider the whole time. And he did a good job of mixing up his slider and fastball in the back half of the year, and it was cool to see. Like I said, I know it didn't work out for him in Omaha, but hopefully he'll be back, and hopefully he can avenge his outing.
It was really cool kind of to see him kind of come out of his shell a little bit throughout the year more. I know with your guidance, with some other guys' guidance as well. You mentioned learning experience with your freshman year. Let's kind of go back to before your freshman year at Tennessee, because I love your recruitment story and how you ended up in Knoxville. I heard a hat purchase may have been part of the decision for you, but apparently Tony Vitello has been eyeing you since the 8th grade summer, and he had a vision that he sold you on for Tennessee. Tell us about that. What was the vision?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. After all my visits in multiple schools and such, I go back home and I was done with visits, and I realized that I only bought a hat from Tennessee, and I was like, well, that pretty much answers my question where I want to go there. And we're sitting in the conference room, me and my grandfather, Coach A and Coach V, and it was kind of weird. We were just talking about Omaha and what the vision was, and freshman year, I know I didn't pitch in like the big games, which was fine. I was just along for the ride. I was just learning from the older players, and to go to Omaha first year. And I know we went 2 in barbecue there, but I mean, that's kind of crazy how this man, before I got here, literally in the summer, we were just talking about Omaha, and now we're here living it, which is, it's crazy. And 22, you mentioned, undoubtedly probably the best college baseball team in history. Probably the first team ever to lose less than 10 games and not make it to Omaha, which is an unreal stat that I don't know if that will be broken, maybe, who knows. And 23, we make it, but a little bit of a different way. Usually like 21, 22, we're kind of, ranked, a good record in the SEC, but 23 was a little bit of its own flavor of having a 5-10 record in SEC, playing and turning around from that point. And then 24, it just felt different, felt like unfinished business from the whole squad. And obviously we got the job done.
In that same vein, you've been very open about your relationship with TV, Tony Vitello. How do you see him as a father figure in your life? This year he placed a ton of trust on you in this team's most pivotal moments. Frank Anderson too, how much did that mean to you? And I know I asked you this down on the field following the win over Vanderbilt in the semifinals to get you to the SEC championship, but earning these opportunities from V and Frank Anderson, most notably in your final season as a Vol, what has that meant to you?
It's meant everything. Coach V, like I said, is like a father figure from us talking and building a relationship to coming here and going on visits here for a while. And then Coach A, I know I have a grandfather at home, but he's like a grandfather out here. I mean, I can mess with him. I know all the elderly slangs that are funny to them, probably not to anybody else, with the joking back and forth. But yeah, those two have been pivotal, especially in my life. Also, you have like Coach Elander, Coach Bonfield, Coach Jackson, and then Coach Q, and then support staff of Jeff Wood, and then our academic advisor, Megan Anderson. So I can't thank all of them enough for what they've done for me throughout my career here. And it's so fulfilling to see such a staff that could have broken up after so many years of like 21 and especially 22. There was rumors of, E going somewhere and everybody else kind of splitting up, but they stayed the course, they stayed together, and it's rewarding to see them win a national title. And I know this program's in a good place. I know it's going to be better. I'm going to leave it better than when I got here.
Senior lefty on the national champion Tennessee Volunteers, Zander Sechrist, with us on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. You said with Kirby on his pod before that Frank Anderson is the grandfather of the team. Do you think the relationship you have with your own grandfather has enabled you two and Frank to form this closeness, even trust in each other, maybe more so than you would otherwise?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, single mother household with a grandfather. It's a little different dynamic, but they're both similar. They both, like I said, old people talk in respect to them, the elderly people talk. But I mean, my grandfather's telling me what's going on in the world, what I need to know about everything, which is great. And Coach A's kind of the same way. Obviously, they're going to talk to you a little differently because they were growing up different. Also, they're going to a little bit more stern. And, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Criticism is going to be a little different than this day and ages. But I can't thank those two men enough. And obviously, I wish I had like a father figure. But hey, not everybody's perfect. Everybody's different in some sort of aspect. And like I said, it brings me like speechless, and I can't thank them enough.
The theme for this team, as you've described them, really appears to be to love each other and play for each other like family. And we've talked a lot about your family, your baseball family, your personal family. I believe it was your mom who gave you your nickname, right? The Muffin Man, because she used to call you Muffin, and you just ran with it. Do you still go by that nickname? Do you have another nickname that the guys on the team call you? What's the deal there?
They call me Zanny on the team, which is fine, but some people call me the Muffin Man. But at first, when she put that on Twitter, I was like, "Mom, I'm in college. You can't really do that. It's not. You can't just put that out there." It was like the same. Me and Bert talked about it. It's like the same when his mom put "That's my baby." It's like it's a little weird. It's like we're kind of growing up and we're not kids anymore. But then, it just takes off, and then you're like, you know what? At least our moms are doing something that they've wanted everybody to know. And yeah, I love my mom to death. And wow, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I hugged her after the game when I went out into the parking lot. It's crazy that I told her that I wanted to pitch in Omaha when I was 11, when we both went there when I was in the tournament. And to live out something that I dreamed of it's speechless. It's easy to write down, but it's hard to talk about.
It is so cool to look back on those moments, especially I know the NCAA did a really cool social media thing where they allowed players to pick up a phone in the stands and leave a message for themselves. And you're reflecting back on 11-year-old Zander saying, "I'm going to pitch in Omaha." And you end up closing out or winning the College World Series, being the winning pitcher for Tennessee all those years later. I do have to ask, though, if your nickname is the Muffin Man, are muffins a thing for you? Like, what's your breakfast? Are you a big muffin guy, or what's the deal? What's the order?
See, Little Bites is probably gonna hate me, but I'm not a huge muffin guy. I know if my family sees this, they're gonna be like, "Well, you should say that you're a muffin guy." Well, it's just, hey, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just not a muffin guy, but I will rep the Muffin Man. Undoubtedly. I mean, that gingerbread man on the table in Lord Farquhar is just an unreal scene.
I love it. The Shrek reference. Let's go. Speaking of the women in your family, though, your aunt, Lisa, she has a phenomenal Twitter handle. It's @GreaseMachine7. 6. Now, she doesn't tweet like at all, but she retweets everything about you. Anything related to you, Tennessee, it's on the feed. I scrolled through pretty much all of it. It was a lot. Where did that Twitter handle come from? Grease Machine 6.
Well, I called her Grease when I was little. I don't really know how that name came about, but I just called her Grease, and then she made her email the Grease Machine, and that's basically what kind of happened. I just started calling her Grease, and she kind of ran with it, and then I kind of ran with it, and then it's just been a thing ever since.
This is incredible. So, Little Bites, the shade. I love that because I'm a big Martha White guy. The Martha White quick muffin mix. I love muffins. My daughter, my 8-year-old, and I, we will whip those up in the morning, double chocolate, even throw in some dark chocolate chips on top, scoop of protein for mine. She doesn't get the protein. Sometimes she might get a little bit of remnants, but we're starting her young. 8 years old. I call her Pudge. I'm trying to groom her. I'm getting her ready. We got softball camp this week. Do appreciate you sharing all the detail about your family, though. It's obvious how much they mean to you. And yeah, we all have our own stories. And you do have a father figure. You've got your grandpa, you've got Tony, you've got Frank. And they certainly have helped to guide you. And as you've indicated, you're super appreciative of that. And we are for you in sharing that. Tell me about your game day superstitions. There's one we know about for sure, and that's the gum chewing. 4 pieces in the holster, ready to chew, 2 in reserve. When did this start? And how did you decide on how much gum you were going to chew or consume throughout a game?
It started in when I started doing the midweeks. I was like, gum is like something that keeps me focused. It keeps me going. And a lot of people think that 4 pieces of double bubble is a lot. Honestly, if I chew 1 or 2, it feels like a little pebble in my mouth. I'm sorry, but it just does. Like 4 is not a lot at all, but I've done a couple of 27 out challenges where every out we record on defense, you put a piece of gum in your mouth, and that piece of gum is pretty huge and it gets dried out pretty quick. But I have done a few of those, and like you said, 4 in the holster, 2 in reserve. I like that little analogy there. But yeah, when it gets a little hot though, the 2 in reserve are. Oh man, the 2 in reserve. You just kind of just take them out your pocket and throw them away. It gets a little melty. Ooh, 2 in reserve, not so good.
Yeah, little swassy, I would presume as well. What kind of gum? Can we say that the kind of gum?
Yeah, Big League Chew reached out, and I love Big League Chew, but the superstition is with double bubble. And if we have the flavored ones, it's 4 green with 2 grape in reserve. But if it's normal, then I just take 4 regular and then 2 regular. So it does depend on what we have, either flavored or not. That's the only thing that dictates what superstition I'm going with today.
No, man after my own heart, because the double bubble green is elite beyond anything else. So I'm totally with you there. 100% perfect choice there. I know back when you were 2 years old, you had the famous story. You fell off a changing table, broke your right arm, and that turned you into the lefty dog that you are right now. Have you broken any other bones in your body since then, or is that the only one out there?
That's the only major one. I've had like a hairline fracture in my foot, but that's not major. But yeah, that's the only major bone I broke. If I didn't play baseball, I know archery was mentioned, but I could have been in the Army because I had the Army crawl down because of the cast that obviously keeps you with the 90 degrees. So I had that Army crawl down, so maybe I would have been an Army or Marine fella. But I became left-handed, and I guess it's like a blessing in disguise, because who knows what would have happened if I didn't and stayed right-handed. Maybe I wouldn't be in the situation I am today.
I used to do a lot of Army crawling, trying to get away from my uncle in the basement. He would be watching TV, and I would sneak to the basement fridge to get more pop. I call it pop, being the Midwestern Chicago guy I am. And I was a fat kid. So, I would Army crawl so he wouldn't hear me. And I'm crawling across this filthy, dirty basement floor just so he wouldn't open up a can of whoop ass on me. and Stone Cold stunned me because he was probably watching wrestling in the process as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Army crawling as a kid, as a toddler, into your young adolescent years, it can be a very critical and beneficial skill. Zander, I know we got to get you out. So my final thing for you is in regards to your future after baseball. Sure, all the intentions in the world to continue to pitch, to do that at the highest level, and we'll wait and see what happens. All the best of luck to you in doing so and pursuing what I would imagine to be a dream to play Major League Baseball. And, Kahn and I are obviously on the side that feels you're going to make that happen. You certainly are, and I believe you will. But after that, you want to be a commentator, I hear? Can we see you and hear you in the booth? Can I work with you? Can Kahn work with you? Can we call games together? Can we get you at the SEC tournament 10 years from now and call some baseball?
I do want to become a commentator or like sports analyst like you see on like ESPN or something like that. But a lot of people, a lot of teammates have said you got a good voice to be in the booth. And I mean, I would love to be in the booth, maybe not right away by like play-by-play, but maybe like a second-hand guy starting out at first so I get the rhythm of the game. But I mean, if I ever get in the booth and start commentating, like let's just say a Stanley Cup final, it's going to be one of the most hilarious ones you probably ever heard because, I mean, yes, the game's going on, but I'll probably put some analogies in there that are just unreal.
I think we should do a three-man booth with Zander, Jack DeLongshaw, and one of us, and the other one of us on the sideline. So there we go.
Ooh,
Four-man crew, 3 men in the booth, Zander and DeLongshaw in the booth, me or Shass on the sideline, the other one in the booth. I mean, elite broadcasting quartet right there. I think that's the win.
That's an elite group of fellas right there.
It is. We'll talk to the folks at Learfield, the higher ups. We'll see if we can make that happen.
Yeah. All right, Zander, we're gonna get you out on this one, man, because I know you were a midweek guy most of your career. You were a midweek guy into SEC play this year, and you have always said your mantra is midweeks matter. So tell us, on the way out the door, why midweeks matter.
Midweeks get you into a regional. Midweeks get you to they win you a lot of games. They just do. And the emphasis of the weekend is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But little does everyone know that when you win a national championship on Monday, it's not a weekend. Like Monday's not a weekend. Everybody's like, oh, it's Monday. I got to go to work. Well, it's definitely not the weekend when it's a Monday. So Monday's midweek, man. So it was fun to go out on top on a midweek. A lot of people were like, I hope this game gets canceled, maybe like rain and push it to a Tuesday. And I mean, if we finish it on a Tuesday, holy moly. Started my career on a Tuesday and ended on one. Holy moly. But I read a thing on Beam. Beam said to one of our local media guys that everybody knew it was going to be fine when you got a midweek guy like me and it's a Monday. So everybody knew it was going to be okay. And yeah, I mean, Mondays are midweeks and midweeks matter because guess what? The Tennessee Vols won a national championship on a midweek.
Zander, amazing stuff. Incredible interview, incredible person, elite talent as well, a national champion. Man, in the NCAA tournament, 1.57 ERA, 20 and 2/3 innings, 5 earned runs only, 24 strikeouts to 6 walks. You shoved, bro. A filthy, unorthodox lefty as you may be, the southpaw came through, and you helped your team earn a national championship. Thank you for joining us on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers.
Thank you so much, you guys, for having me.
Thanks, Zander. If you don't mind, I know you're running